Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's all things Cinco EDC. I'm Cinco. Thank you for joining me once again. I wasn't able to originally do the video I wanted to do this weekend, which was on the Glock 19 or the AR-15 rifle. So I opted to do two smaller, quicker videos for you guys to keep the content coming. So for the sake of doing a quick, short, more fun video, I decided to bring out one of the more novel ones that I have, and that is this one here. This is the North American Arms 22 Magnum single action revolver. Now, just to be clear, before you keyboard jihadis lose your mind over this, this is by no means an everyday carry primary pistol. This thing, chances are you will never get caught in a situation where this thing will save your life. But I have come to use this thing more often than I thought I would. Not really use it, but I put it on my person more often than I ever thought I would. I thought this would be in the safe forever, and I just bought it to have it. But I actually carry this thing, not regularly, but just more often than I thought I would. So let's just go over this thing as a whole. This specific one here is called the A.K.A. 22 MCHG. Every one of those letters means something, so we'll go over it as we go through it. It actually stands for North American Arms 22 Magnum Conversion Holster Grip. So this is a 5-shot revolver. This thing holds 5 rounds of 22 Magnum. So I lovingly call it the noisy cricket. Shout out to the Men in Black, because this thing holds 5 rounds of 22 Magnum, and most people don't realize the power that a little 22 Magnum has, considering the small size of that bullet. Most people, when I put this in their hands at the range and say, hey, shoot this little gun just for fun, they're pretty surprised at the little bit of kick it has to it and the loud pop that the 22 Magnum lets out.
Series 4 deatomizer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Noisy cricket.
Hey, K, no, come on, man. You get a Series 4 deatomizer, I get a little midget cricket. Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm gonna break this damn thing. K, get down!
North American Arms 22 Magnum. Those of you who are unfamiliar, this is the 22 long rifle round. See if I can focus in for you there. That's the 22 long rifle. And then here we have the 22 Magnum. So as you can see there's quite a substantial difference in length. It is the same caliber, but it has a lot more oomph behind it. So this thing, I'll show you here. It's a 5-shot revolver. There's no ammo in this thing, so there's nothing to worry about. I'll show you guys there. You can see the slots. You can see right through them, as a matter of fact. Let's see, there you go. So there's no ammo in it. So it does have a 5-shot cylinder. It is single action, so when you pull the trigger, it does not pull the hammer back for you. For each individual round, you have to pull back the hammer. And this little nub you see here, that is actually the trigger. So you pull the trigger, the hammer drops. Then when you pull back the hammers, when the cylinder spins, pull the trigger, and you have to do that after every shot. So it's not the most efficient weapon in the world, but 22 Magnum, I love the 22 Magnum. It has a 1 5/8 inch barrel. As you can tell, it's not a very big barrel. They make this thing in a bunch of different variations, from 22 short, which is an immensely tiny barrel, all the way up to, I think, a 2.5 inch Black Widow variant, something like that. I'll roll in a photo of all the variants of this thing because they have so many different kinds. This little thing is sporting the 1 5/8 inch barrel. It's just over 5 inches in length. It's just under 3 inches in height, and it's just over an inch in width. It's like 1.05 or something like that. And it weighs a little over 6 ounces. As you can see here, it's sporting this, what they call half moon sight, which thing is so difficult to point and shoot. But if you can see here, I've come to learn how to aim this thing over the years. I'll get out the way here. If you see here, you line up that little divot when you pull the hammer back. You try to line up that divot with the sight. Let's see if I can line right there. and you just barely get that thing up over that little divot, that's more or less where you're gonna end up hitting. Either way, I don't think anybody's gonna do any 25-yard accuracy shots with this thing. Nobody's gonna probably do more than 2-3 yards. This is why I call this a get off me gun. This is just to point and shoot, close range, something that you won't even miss just by sticking your arm out and pointing.
Dude, get off of me!
So like I said before, it is a 5-shot capacity, and I'll show you how you load this thing. So I tell everybody to be very careful handling this thing because of the way that you have to load and unload it. It is not the safest thing in the world, but as long as you're careful with it, you shouldn't have any accidents. So the way you have to load and unload it, first of all, you don't want to do it with this hammer dropped. So once you have it like that, even though there's nothing in the weapon, this little detent up here that pushes back and forth, you want to push that, and then you pull out the pin. Once you pull out the pin, the cylinder comes loose. If you pull back on the hammer just a little bit, it drops right out. So it's a 5-shot capacity. Now the reason this is called the 22 Magnum conversion is because when you buy it, or at least when I bought it, I didn't know, it comes with this other cylinder. So just so you see, I didn't pull a fast one on you. There's 2 cylinders. One is 22 Magnum and one is 22 long rifle. They both fit in the same weapon. They both look identical. The only difference is that they put a little, see if you can see there. Let me bring it into focus, and there you go. I don't know if you can see that. There's an L marked on the front of that cylinder. So that one is for the 22 long rifle. Now I don't use it as often. I bought this specifically for the 22 Magnum capabilities, but you have the option of doing either. I'll show you here. You just pop that thing in, and it fits in there perfectly. You can't tell the difference. But I figure if you're gonna carry something like this, you might as well get the most power out of it. So to put the cylinder back in there, you see here the little divots that it has on the side of it. Let me see if I can bring it up there. See those little divots? They fit right into this little notch you see here, if you can see it. So what I like to do is, let me see if I can do this on camera. I like to roll this thing until that locks in there. You gotta bring the hammer back a little bit. You can bring the hammer, it has like 3 different stages. You can bring it into there, which brings it out of your way so it's not interfering here. Then you wanna take the cylinder, pop it in there until that little detent rolls right into place. I mean the little divot. And then once you got it there, you'll hold it in place. You'll grab this little pin again, which slides down the middle and what helps it rotate when it's in there. And there we go. And then you're gonna slide it all the way back until it locks into place just like that. Now the only reason I say to be very careful is because it's so hard to do this without putting your hand in front of this muzzle, but it does come with its safety features that when I did that little, I don't know if you can see it there, I brought it back just a little bit. The trigger can't go off, it can't do anything. It does have another level where you can bring it back a little further. It rotates the cylinder, and then that's when, bam. But when you bring it back here, in order to do administrative duties, nothing happens, trigger won't go off. I brought you guys down to the tabletop real quick because I want you to see another little extra safety feature that they put in here, which I think is pretty cool. If you see when the cylinder is put back into place, these little divots that exist right here on the outside. Let me see if I can show you here. If we can get this clear on camera. When you have this thing loaded back and you have it in that first position, the barrel is also locked into place. You can pull this thing back. And this is where I say you gotta be very careful because you gotta do it with the trigger pulled at the same time. It'll come a point when this thing rotates freely. You wanna try to line up one of those divots right there. And with the trigger pulled, slowly let this thing go forward. And it sits in one of those divots to where it's not behind around, but it also keeps the cylinder from moving. So it's pretty safe. You pull the trigger, nothing happens. It's safe all the way around. But if you had to use it, you can just pull the hammer, rotates it into place, and bam, you can go right to it. So I like that little safety feature. Again, you see here, you gotta hold the trigger and pull this thing back until it freely rotates. And then once you do that, line it up with one of those notches and carefully make sure it doesn't slip out of your hand while you're doing this. You just slightly let it go forward, all the way forward, and this thing is locked into place. So that's a really cool feature that I love. But really the main reason I got this, one, because of its tiny little size. You put this thing in your pocket. Most of the time I wear this thing in my pocket, as I shown in the EDC video. I put this thing in my pocket and most people just see this and they think it's a pocket knife, and I always have to change the conversation quickly. But I seen this at a gun show and I seen it like this, and what really attracted me to this was the holster grip. That's why it's called HG. It's for the holster grip. This thing also functions as a trigger guard, which is what I would want with any little thing like this, which tends to be not the safest thing in the world. Obviously it has no trigger guard, but this thing, you push these little detents in, you flip it up, and it sits in your pocket like that. And as you can tell, you can't get to the trigger at all. It's completely covered. This is a clip for the outside of your pocket. If you're right-handed, I don't know what you're gonna do if you're left-handed, but you can put this in your belt line, you can put this in your pocket. I keep it in my pocket. Once you rotate it out, this thing, boom, clicks into place. Normally these things have like a bird's head grip, but I really like this feature. That's really what caught my eye. Again, I still bought this thing to not be like an everyday use, but this thing here was, I just thought it was really cool, and gun guys love cool things. So that's how it ended up in my possession. And I bought it because it was 22 Magnum. The whole conversion kit was actually a bonus. I didn't even know it was gonna come with that, but it did. But this thing is really well made. It's a whole piece of steel, as you can see all the way around. It's really well made for being a tiny little thing. It says there, it was made in Provo, Utah, 22 Magnum, North American Arms. So for this little thing, and I think I bought it at like $240. Now I just looked it up on the website recently and it was at like $300. So now the main purpose for this thing is basically I put it in my pocket if I'm gonna go out, throw out the trash or anything like that. Even then, I wouldn't say it's your best option, because this thing does take some time to pull it out of your pocket like this, hoping that this thing doesn't catch on your pocket. Then you gotta whip this thing out, then you gotta hit the hammer, and then you gotta actually pull the trigger, and that's just for one shot. You gotta pull the next one and shoot, shoot, shoot. Obviously the fact that it's revolvers, it's cool, because if anything happens with a rimfire round, you can just pull the trigger and keep going. But while we have it on the tabletop, I'll give you one more look. This is the 22 long rifle round, and this is the 22 Magnum round. So what I keep in there actually when I do have this thing on me is these bad boys here, the CCI Spear Gold Dot 22 Magnum rounds, which I like. Gold Dot has a good reputation. They got good rounds, they make good stuff. So that's what I keep in there, but this thing, obviously, single shot revolver, will shoot anything. So that's it, guys. Just wanted to bring that to you guys today. Just wanted to make it a more fun video. I didn't have time to do the lengthy video I wanted to do for you guys today, but I hope you enjoyed that one. So back up from the tabletop, guys. So that's it for today. That is the 22 Magnum North American Arms single shot revolver, 5-round capacity. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is more of a novel item. It's not really an everyday carry item, but make no mistake about it, guys, as much of a toy item as this seems, this is a deadly weapon. It is a firearm. It can still kill. So not to be played around with, not to be used as a toy. It is a deadly firearm. But that's it. It's not an everyday carry pistol, but it is still a deadly firearm, so you must exercise safety rules with it, even more so because of what we were talking about earlier. So thank you for joining me once again. Subscribe down below, like, comment, share, do all those good things. It helps me out tremendously. I'm gonna bring you much better videos next time as I have time. I wanna bring you the bigger, badder, and better guns. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Anybody that leaves a comment, I really appreciate your time. So as always, get armed, get trained, protect the innocent. Jesus Christ is King. I love you guys. Take care, and until next time.